Okay, good day. Today we are going to look at algebra. Okay, and this is the curriculum alignment. We are to understand the introduction to algebra, algebraic expression, equations and identities, factorization of algebraic expression, basic algebraic formulas, and the manipulation of algebra. Now, objective is that the student is to be enabled to understand the language of algebra, that is, use of letters of the alphabet to represent numbers. Basically, that is what algebra is about, using letters to represent numbers, and differentiate between variables and constant. And the student should be able to substitute numbers for letters of the alphabet in expressions and formula. Manipulate simple algebraic expression. That will be the last objective we'll be looking at. So once again, welcome to Erudite Institute tutorials on algebra. Now, what is algebra? Algebra is a part of mathematics in which letters and other general symbols are used to represent numbers and quantities in formula and equation. So we see x plus 1 bracket closed, y minus 2 bracket closed. So x and y here are letters that are being used to represent numbers. Okay, in other popular topics like area of plane figures, that is plane geometry and mensuration, you hear things like pi, r squared, theta, so on and so forth. They are all symbols that are being used to represent specific numbers and values. Okay, so they are all part of algebra. Now let's look at what we have here. 2x here is called a term. 2x plus 5 is called an expression. Now 2x plus 5 equals to x squared minus 6x is referred to as an equation. 2x is a term because it consists of a constant and then a variable. 2 is the constant, which is called a coefficient. Okay, any number attached to a variable is called a coefficient. So 2 is a coefficient and then x is the variable. Together they form a term. 5 is also a term on its own. It is referred to as a constant term. And then 2x, as we can see here, 2x squared is also a term on its own. 6x is also a term on its own. Now 6 is a constant coefficient which is attached to what? X, and x is a variable. Okay, so let's get to keep that in mind. Now the statement is called an equation because it contains an equal to sign. As we can see here, it contains an equal to sign. So 2x plus 5 is equal to 2x minus 6x is referred to as an equation, or in other words, algebraic equation. Now there are some definitions here. You can write them, take note of those definitions. Let's move on. Now part of an algebraic expression, we have terms. An algebraic expression doesn't include an equal to sign. Once it includes an equal to sign, it becomes an equation. So we have the coefficient here, which is 7. Then we have a variable, which is n. Then we have what we call the operation sign. Every algebraic expression has an operation sign. Then we have 2, which is referred to as what? The constant. So constant don't change, they are fixed numbers. Together we have what we call the algebraic expression. Now a variable is a symbol which represents a quantity that can vary. Okay, so there are so much of those variables here, usually x being the most popular one. Okay, x being the most popular one. And a constant is a symbol which represents a specific number, a quantity that does not change. For instance, pi, we already know that pi is supposed to be what? 22 over 7. It does not change. Pi is 22 over 7, does not change. There are other constants like Avogadro's constant, so on and so forth. They do not change. They are fixed numbers that don't change. So there are some symbols, or sometimes we use numbers. Now coefficient, a number that is multiplied by a variable is referred to as what? A coefficient. If we have pi r squared, pi there becomes a coefficient. Okay, r is also a coefficient to pi, so on and so forth. Okay, now let's try some example. Now let's think of a number. Okay, that's the first activity we're doing. Now think of a number. You don't know what that number is, so we could use x to represent that number. Okay, we could use x to represent that number. So let's say that number is x. Sorry. So let's say that number is supposed to be what? X. Now what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to multiply it by 2. So times 2. X times 2. Okay. Add 10 to it. So let me redo this here, so we can have enough space. X times 2. Third is to add 10 to it, so we could have plus 10 divided by 2, so divided by 2, and then subtract total from the number you picked. So all of this can be taken from, let's say, the number we picked minus x or something of that sort. Okay, so basically this is what algebra is about. Thanks for watching. More lessons to come soon.